The silent threat. The first signs came as whispers among the stars. Astronomical observatories across Earth detected strange disturbances in the Theta Reticuli system, ripples in space that defied conventional physics. Dr. Sarah Chen stood before the holographic display at the Global Defense Initiative headquarters, her dark eyes fixed on the wavering patterns that had kept her team working sleepless nights for weeks. "They're not random," she declared to the assembled military leaders and scientists. "These disturbances follow mathematical patterns too precise to be natural phenomena. Something, or someone, is generating them deliberately." Admiral James Rodriguez leaned forward, his weathered face illuminated by the blue glow of the display. "And you're certain these are the same patterns we detected from the fallen colonies?" Sarah nodded grimly. "Identical signatures to what we recorded from New Copenhagen before it went dark, and Proxima B, and the Martinez colony." She gestured to a timeline showing the progression of disappeared human settlements. Each time, these sonic disturbances appeared 3 weeks before all contact was lost. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had expanded across 27 star systems in the past century, establishing thriving colonies and trading posts. But in the past year, 6 of those colonies had gone silent. No distress calls, no final messages, just silence. "They're coming here next, aren't they?" The question came from General Laura Hayes, her cybernetic eye whirring as it analyzed the data streams. "Yes," Sarah confirmed. "Based on the progression and intensity of the signals, we estimate 3 weeks until they reach Sol's system." Admiral Rodriguez stood, his artificial leg hydraulics hissing softly. "Then we have 3 weeks to prepare. Dr. Chen, what do we know about these weapons they're using?" Sarah brought up a new series of visualizations. "We're dealing with what we're calling sonic weaponry, but that's an oversimplification. These aren't simple sound waves. They're complex harmonics that resonate with matter at a quantum level. They can literally shake apart molecular bonds, turn atmospheres into weapons, or create impenetrable barriers of pure sound." "And how do we fight that?" General Hayes demanded. "We've been developing countermeasures since we lost New Copenhagen," Sarah replied. "Traditional shields and armor are useless against these weapons. But sound can be canceled out. If you generate precisely the right counter frequency, you can neutralize even the most powerful sonic attack." She brought up schematics of a massive vessel unlike anything Earth had built before. "This is the U.S. Silence. We've incorporated everything we've learned about their technology. The entire hull is lined with quantum resonators that can generate counter frequencies to any sonic attack. But more importantly, we can capture their sonic energy, amplify it, and redirect it back at them." Admiral Rodriguez studied the designs. "One ship against an entire invasion fleet. One ship is all we need," Sarah assured him. "The Silence isn't just a warship. It's a symphony of advanced acoustics and quantum mechanics. We'll be able to turn their greatest weapon into their greatest vulnerability." The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of preparation. The U.S. Silence was already near completion in the orbital shipyards above Mars, the product of humanity's finest minds working in secret for months. Sarah supervised the final calibrations of the quantum resonators, while combat crews trained day and night to master the unprecedented weapon systems. They detected the first ships of the Nexari fleet when they emerged from hyperspace near Jupiter. Massive vessels shaped like tuning forks, thrumming with visible waves of sonic energy that distorted space around them. Long-range sensors counted 30 capital ships, each one capable of reducing a planet to rubble with their sonic weapons. The U.S. Silence powered up its systems as the crew took their stations. Sarah stood on the bridge beside Captain Maya Patel, watching as the quantum resonators came online. The ship hummed with potential energy, ready to meet sound with sound. "All stations report ready," First Officer David Chen announced. "Quantum resonators at full capacity. Counter-frequency generators standing by." Captain Patel took her seat, her expression resolute. "Send the following message to all Earth forces. Operation Silence commences now. Fall back to secondary positions and maintain communications blackout as planned. Then set course for the Nexari fleet, maximum speed. The U.S. Silence accelerated toward humanity's greatest threat, a single ship against an armada. But within its hull, it carried humanity's greatest strengths: innovation, adaptability, and the determination to overcome any challenge. The true test of their preparations was about to begin. As they closed with the enemy fleet, Sarah monitored the sonic patterns emanating from the Nexari ships. The aliens were already beginning to weave their deadly harmonics, preparing to unleash the same devastating attack that had silenced so many human colonies. "They're powering up their primary weapons," Sarah reported. "Sonic pattern matching previous attacks. They're about to learn that humanity doesn't go quietly." Captain Patel allowed herself a small smile. "Prepare to show them why we named this ship Silence. Sometimes the deadliest response is to turn an enemy's voice against them." The battle for Earth was about to begin, and with it, humanity's answer to those who thought they could conquer the galaxy with sound and fury. The first strike. The U.S. Silence cut through space like a phantom, its quantum resonators already beginning to absorb the sonic waves pulsing from the Nexari fleet. On the bridge, holographic displays showed the enemy formation spreading out in what looked like a tuning fork pattern, their ships positioning themselves at precise harmonic intervals. "They're forming a sonic lattice," Dr. Sarah Chen announced, her fingers dancing across the sensor controls. "Just like the attack patterns we recorded at New Copenhagen. They're going to try to create a resonance cascade." Captain Patel nodded grimly. "Exactly as we predicted. Lieutenant Wong, begin counter-frequency calibration. Let's show them what Earth's finest minds have created." The Nexari struck first. A wave of pure sound erupted from their fleet, a devastating harmony designed to tear apart anything in its path. But as the wave reached the U.S. Silence, something unprecedented happened. Instead of shattering under the assault, the ship's quantum resonators flared to life, absorbing the sonic energy like a sponge soaking up water. Energy absorption at 60% capacity and holding, First Officer Chen reported. "All systems nominal. The resonators are working exactly as designed." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Months of theoretical work and practical engineering were paying off. The Nexari's greatest weapon was being neutralized by human innovation. But absorption was only the first phase of their plan. Multiple Nexari vessels adjusting position, Tactical Officer Jessica Martinez announced. "They're increasing power to their sonic generators, reading massive energy buildup." The enemy ships had noticed their initial attack's failure and were adapting their strategy, positioning themselves to create an even more powerful sonic assault. The space between the fleets rippled with visible distortions as the Nexari prepared to unleash their full might. "They think we're just defending," Captain Patel observed. "Time to show them how humanity fights back." "Dr. Chen, are we ready for Phase 2? Sarah checked her readings one final time. Quantum resonators at 85% capacity, more than enough for what we have planned. Initiating frequency reverse engineering protocols now. The U.S. Silence's systems began processing the absorbed sonic energy, analyzing its complex harmonics and quantum signatures. This was the true genius of humanity's counter to the Nexari threat, not just defending against their weapons, but understanding them, adapting them, and turning them back against their creators. "Target the lead vessel," Captain Patel ordered. "Let's show them what their own symphony sounds like when humanity conducts." The ship's quantum resonators shifted from absorption to projection mode. The accumulated sonic energy was released in a focused beam, but now it carried a human signature, precisely calculated frequencies designed to exploit weaknesses in Nexari technology that only became apparent through careful study of their attacks. The effect was immediate and devastating. The lead Nexari vessel's sonic shields, calibrated to project energy outward, had no defense against their own weapons turned against them. The ship's hull began to vibrate, its molecular bonds weakening under the assault of perfectly tuned counter-frequencies. Direct hit, Martins reported, excitement creeping into her voice. Enemy vessels showing critical structural failures. Their sonic lattice formation is destabilizing. The Nexeri ship broke apart in a silent explosion, its pieces continuing to vibrate until they shattered into molecular dust. The remaining enemy vessels quickly broke formation, their carefully planned sonic lattice dissolving into chaos. "They're retreating," First Officer Chen announced, regrouping at coordinates Mark 37. "They're not retreating," Sarah corrected, studying the enemy movements. "Look at their positioning. They're adapting, trying to find a frequency combination we can't counter. They've never faced an opponent who could turn their weapons against them. They don't know how to fight a battle like this." Captain Patel's expression hardened with determination. "And that's exactly our advantage. Humanity has been fighting battles we weren't supposed to win since we first looked up at the stars. Plot and intercept course with their new formation. Let's press our advantage while they're off balance." The U.S. Silence moved forward, its quantum resonators humming with stored energy. The Nexeri fleet was regrouping, but their movements showed uncertainty. Their perfect formations were ragged now, their sonic attacks less coordinated. "Multiple enemy ships charging weapons," Martins warned. "They're trying something new. The harmonic patterns are different." "Let them try," Sarah said confidently. "Every new attack pattern they use gives us more data, more understanding of their technology. We learn, we adapt, we overcome. That's what humanity does best." As the next wave of sonic attacks approached, the U.S. Silence stood ready. In the space of a single battle, humanity had already proven that the Nexeri's unstoppable weapon could be not only stopped but mastered. But this was only the beginning. The real test would come when the aliens realized they weren't facing a lucky defense, but a fundamental challenge to their supremacy among the stars. Captain Patel gave the order to prepare for the next engagement, knowing that with each passing moment, humanity's understanding of sonic warfare grew stronger. The Nexeri had terrorized the galaxy with their advanced technology, but they were about to learn a crucial lesson. Humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology, but their relentless drive to understand, adapt, and overcome any challenge the universe presented. The turning tide. The Nexeri's response to their first defeat came with a fury that shook the fabric of space itself. Dozens of reinforcement ships emerged from hyperspace, their sonic generators already spinning up to full power. But aboard the U.S. Silence, the mood remained focused and determined. "I count 37 new hostile contacts," Martins reported, her tactical display lighting up with fresh targets. "They're arranging themselves in a spherical formation, something we haven't seen before." Dr. Sarah Chen leaned forward, studying the complex patterns emerging on her quantum frequency analyzer. "They're attempting to create a three-dimensional sonic matrix. If they succeed, they could generate harmonics powerful enough to tear apart a planet." Captain Patel's expression remained steady. "Then we don't let them succeed. Deploy the resonance probes." From the U.S. Silence's hull, dozens of small autonomous devices launched into space. These probes, each carrying miniaturized versions of the ship's quantum resonators, had been Sarah's latest innovation. They moved swiftly into position around the expanding sphere of Nexeri vessels. "Probes in position," First Officer Chen confirmed. "Ready to initiate sonic disruption pattern on your command." The Nexeri attack began without warning. The sphere of ships pulsed with energy, generating a harmony so complex it manifested as visible waves of distortion in space. But this time, humanity was ready with more than just defenses. "Probes activating now," Sarah announced, initiating multi-vector sonic disruption. The resonance probes fired up simultaneously, each one generating precise counter-frequencies. The effect was immediate. The Nexeri's carefully constructed sonic matrix began to waver, its harmonics disrupted by the unexpected interference coming from multiple directions. "Their formation is destabilizing," Martins reported. several enemy vessels showing signs of sonic feedback. Captain Patel allowed herself a small smile. Now for the real surprise. Dr. Chen, initiate Protocol Omega. Sarah's fingers flew across her console, implementing the strategy they'd developed for exactly this scenario. The U.S. Silence's main quantum resonators powered up to full capacity, but instead of attacking directly, they began to synchronize with the probes, creating a meta-harmony that encompassed the entire battlefield. What you're seeing, Sarah explained to the bridge crew, is humanity's answer to the Nexary's sonic mastery. They use sound as a weapon. We're using it as an entire battlefield strategy. The space around the U.S. Silence became a symphony of perfectly controlled sonic waves, each frequency precisely calculated to not just counter the Nexary attacks, but to create a new kind of warfare. Enemy ships found their own sonic weapons reflected, amplified, and turned against them in ways they'd never anticipated. Multiple Nexary vessels experiencing critical system failures, Martins announced, trying to keep the excitement from her voice. Their sonic matrix is collapsing. The sphere of enemy ships began to break apart, their carefully planned formation dissolving into chaos. But the Nexari weren't finished. From the center of their formation, a massive vessel emerged, easily twice the size of their standard ships. Energy readings off the scale. First Officer Chen reported. That's got to be their flagship. The massive Nexari vessel generated a sonic pulse, unlike anything they'd encountered before. A deep, resonating boom that seemed to shake the very foundations of reality. Several of the resonance probes overloaded instantly, exploding in brief flashes of light. Their commander is making a statement, Captain Patel observed calmly. They want us to know we're facing their best now. Bring us about. Heading 340 Mark II. Dr. Chen, what can you tell me about that weapon? Sarah's hands danced across her console, analyzing the new threat. It's beautiful, actually. They're using nested harmonics, creating frequencies within frequencies. The complexity is astronomical. She looked up, her eyes bright with understanding. But they're still bound by the same physical laws. Complex doesn't mean unbeatable. Show me, Captain Patel ordered. Sarah initiated a new sequence in the quantum resonators. The U.S. Silence's hull began to vibrate in a complex pattern, matching the Nexary flagship's frequency, but with subtle variations. Human innovations added to alien technology. Think of it like a conversation, Sarah explained as she worked. They're shouting, trying to overwhelm us with pure power. We're going to show them the value of listening and responding. The U.S. Silence's response was subtle at first, a careful harmonic that threaded through the Nexary's overwhelming sonic assault. But as Sarah refined the frequency, matching and then exceeding the complexity of the alien attack, something remarkable happened. The space between the ships became a battlefield of sound, visible distortions clashing and interweaving in patterns never before seen in human space. We're not just fighting them, Sarah announced, her voice filled with the excitement of discovery. We're communicating with them in their own language, the language of pure sound. And we're showing them that humanity has something new to say. The battle was far from over, but in that moment, as human ingenuity met Nexary power head-on, the tide of war began to turn. The galaxy's greatest terror was learning that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their weapons, but in their ability to understand, adapt, and evolve. The symphony of battle. The Nexary flagship's presence had changed the nature of the battle. As the massive vessel hung in space like a dark sentinel, its sonic emissions created patterns of such complexity that they seemed to defy analysis. But aboard the U.S. Silence, humanity's response was already taking shape. Their flagships using frequencies I've never seen before, Sarah reported, her hands moving across multiple holographic displays. They're not just trying to destroy us, they're trying to rewrite the rules of sonic warfare. Captain Patel stood at the center of her bridge, watching as space itself seemed to ripple between the two ships. Then we'll rewrite them better. Begin Operation Harmonic Storm. The U.S. Silence's quantum resonators spun up to full power, their energy readings pushing past safety limits. This was the moment they'd been preparing for. The implementation of a strategy that would either break the Nexary's dominance or break their own ship trying. All remaining probes repositioning. First Officer Chen announced, "Ready to initiate synchronized sonic burst on your command." The plan was audacious, even by human standards. Instead of trying to match the Nexary flagship's raw power, they would use their network of probes to create a web of intersecting frequencies, each one precisely calibrated to enhance the others. "Enemy flagship is moving," Martins warned. "They're bringing their main sonic array to bear." The Nexary vessel released a blast of pure sonic energy that made their previous attacks look like whispers. Space itself seemed to crack under the assault, creating visible fissures of distorted reality that spread outward like a shockwave. "Now," Captain Patel ordered. Sarah's fingers flew across her console, initiating the sequence they'd prepared. The U.S. Silence and its network of probes responded in perfect synchronization, creating not just counter-frequencies, but an entirely new form of sonic manipulation. "What you're seeing," Sarah explained as the battle unfolded, "is humanity's understanding of harmony taken to its logical conclusion. We're not just fighting sound with sound. We're creating a symphony of destruction." The space between the ships became a battlefield unlike anything seen before in human or Nexary history. Waves of sonic energy collided and merged, creating patterns that seemed to dance between the vessels. The U.S. Silence's innovative approach, using multiple sources to create complex, interlocking harmonics, was turning the very nature of sonic warfare on its head. Multiple hits on the Nexary flagship, Martins reported. Their outer sonic shields are starting to destabilize. But the enemy was far from defeated. The flagship's response came in the form of a new attack pattern, one that seemed to adapt to their tactics in real time. The remaining Nexary support ships moved into formation around their flagship, adding their own sonic emissions to create a defensive barrier of unprecedented power. "They're learning," Sarah observed, her voice tight with concentration. "Every time we show them something new, they incorporate it into their own strategies. But that works both ways." Captain Patel nodded grimly. "Show them what else we've learned. Initiate Phase 2. The U.S. Silence's quantum resonators shifted to a new configuration, one that they'd developed by studying the Nexary's own attack patterns. But there was a human twist. Instead of using sound purely as a weapon, they were using it as a conduit for something more. "Quantum entanglement field active," Sarah announced, "beginning sonic frequency manipulation at the subatomic level." This was humanity's greatest innovation in the field of sonic warfare, the ability to use sound waves to manipulate quantum states. The Nexary had mastered the art of using sound to destroy. Humanity had taken it a step further, learning to use it to alter the very fabric of reality. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The Nexary's sonic barrier began to unravel, not from brute force, but from subtle manipulations of the quantum field that held it together. Their perfect harmonies became discordant as the underlying structure of space-time shifted around them. "Multiple Nexary vessels showing critical system failures," Martins reported. "Their sonic lattice is breaking down at the quantum level." The flagship fought back, adjusting its frequencies to compensate for the quantum disruption. But with each adjustment, the U.S. Silence's adaptive systems learned and evolved, staying one step ahead in a deadly dance of sound and science. "They're trying to withdraw," First Officer Chen announced as the Nexary support ships began to break formation. "The flagship is covering their retreat." Captain Patel's expression hardened. Not this time. They'd run too long, destroyed too much. "Dr. Chen, prepare the quantum resonators for maximum output. We end this here." As the U.S. Silence prepared for its final assault, the crew knew they were making history. The Nexary had terrorized the galaxy with their sonic weapons, but humanity had done more than just survive their attacks. They had understood them, mastered them, and ultimately transcended them. The battle was approaching its crescendo, and the galaxy was about to witness the full extent of human ingenuity unleashed. The final symphony. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath as the U.S. Silence squared off against the Nexari flagship. The retreating support ships had left a void in space, creating an arena for the final confrontation between humanity's greatest achievement and the galaxy's most feared conquerors. All quantum resonators at maximum capacity, Sarah reported, her voice steady despite the tension. Quantum entanglement field is stable and expanding. Captain Patel stood at her command station, her eyes fixed on the massive Nexari vessel ahead. Send them one final message. You can retreat now and never return, or face extinction. The choice is yours. The response came in the form of an overwhelming sonic blast that dwarfed all previous attacks. The Nexari flagship's entire hull pulsed with energy as it unleashed its full arsenal, creating a wave of destructive harmony that threatened to tear apart the fabric of space itself. But the U.S. Silence stood firm. The quantum resonators absorbed the attack, their advanced systems processing and analyzing every frequency, every harmonic, every subtle variation in the sonic assault. They've committed everything to this attack, Sarah announced, her fingers dancing across her console. And they've just given us exactly what we needed. A complete template of their sonic technology. Captain Patel nodded grimly. Then let's show them what humanity does with new knowledge. Initiate Protocol Omega Final. The U.S. Silence's response began subtly, a complex web of counter-frequencies that seemed to dance between the two ships. But this was merely the prelude. As the quantum resonators spun up to full power, they began implementing everything humanity had learned about sonic warfare, enhanced by their understanding of quantum mechanics. What we're about to attempt, Sarah explained to the bridge crew, is something the Nexari never considered possible. We're not just going to counter their attack. We're going to transcend it. The ship's quantum resonators created a symphony of destruction, unlike anything ever witnessed in the galaxy. Each frequency was precisely calculated to interact with the quantum entanglement field, creating cascading effects that ripple through multiple dimensions of spacetime. Their sonic shields are failing, Martins reported, excitement creeping into her voice. The quantum disruption is spreading throughout their systems. The Nexari flagship fought back with increasing desperation, trying to adjust its frequencies to counter the human attack. But with each adjustment, the U.S. Silence's adaptive systems evolved, staying one step ahead in the deadly dance of sound and science. They're attempting to retreat, First Officer Chen announced as the massive vessel began to turn, detecting energy buildup in their hyperdrive systems. Not this time, Captain Patel declared. Dr. Chen, execute the final movement. Sarah initiated the sequence they'd prepared for this moment. Humanity's ultimate answer to the Nexari threat. The U.S. Silence's quantum resonators synchronized in perfect harmony, creating not just a weapon of sound, but a fundamental alteration of reality itself. The effect was both beautiful and terrifying. The space around the Nexari flagship began to crystallize as sonic waves interacted with quantum fields in ways never before seen. The alien vessel's own sonic emissions were caught in the effect, creating a feedback loop that amplified the destruction. Their hull is beginning to quantum fragment, Sarah reported, watching as the mighty flagship began to break apart not just physically, but at the subatomic level. The very molecules of their ship are being reorganized by the sonic harmonics. The Nexari flagship, terror of 1,000 worlds, dissolved into a cascade of quantum particles, each one vibrating with the frequency of its destruction. The display was spectacular, a silent explosion of light and energy that marked the end of their reign of terror. As the last traces of the flagship faded from their sensors, Captain Patel turned to her crew. Send word to Earth. The Nexari threat is ended. Humanity's voice will now echo through the galaxy, not as a weapon of terror, but as a promise of protection for all who wish to live in peace. The U.S. Silence hung in space, its quantum resonators powering down from their historic achievement. In the end, humanity had done more than just defeat the Nexari. They had transformed their greatest weapon into something new, something that could reshape the future of galactic civilization. What do we do now? First Officer Chen asked quietly. Captain Patil smiled, looking out at the stars that suddenly seemed full of new possibilities. Now we do what humanity does best. We learn, we grow, and we help others do the same. The galaxies heard our song of victory. It's time they heard our song of peace. As the USS Silence set course for Earth, its crew knew they had written a new chapter in human history. They had faced the galaxy's greatest terror and emerged not just victorious, but transformed. The silent depths of space would never be the same, and neither would humanity.